Your paycheck isn't the problem. What happens in the first 24 hours after you get paid is most people spend years believing they need a larger income to finally feel financially comfortable. They tell themselves that the next raise, the next promotion, the next opportunity, or the next job will solve their money problems permanently. Yet millions of people earning higher incomes continue experiencing the exact same financial stress they faced when they earned significantly less. The reason is surprisingly simple. Financial pressure is often created by money flow, not income itself. The moment a paycheck arrives, dozens of competing priorities begin attacking it immediately. Bills demand attention. Subscriptions withdraw automatically. Debt payments consume cash flow. Convenience spending begins quietly. Emotional purchases feel justified. Before long, the paycheck that seemed large only a few days earlier has nearly disappeared. This creates the illusion that income is the problem when the real issue is distribution. Wealthy individuals often understand something different. They focus less on how much money enters their financial system and more on where that money goes first. The first 24 hours after getting paid frequently determine whether someone builds wealth or remains financially stressed. Money naturally flows toward whatever system is already in place. If there is no system, emotional spending and recurring obligations usually take control automatically. Another important lesson is that most people never intentionally design their money flow. They simply react to whatever appears first. Financial freedom rarely comes from reacting. It comes from directing. The purpose of this video is to expose what really happens during those first 24 hours and show why that short window often determines someone's financial future far more than the paycheck itself. The first major problem occurs because most people treat their checking account like a storage container instead of a distribution center. Income arrives and sits in one large pool of money waiting for decisions to be made. This creates danger because every dollar becomes available for emotional spending. Bills, subscriptions, debt payments, entertainment, convenience purchases, and impulse spending all compete for the same dollars simultaneously. The longer money remains sitting in a general spending account, the greater the likelihood that it will be used inefficiently. Wealthy individuals often reverse this process completely. They do not allow money to remain undecided. Instead, every dollar receives an assignment immediately. Savings accounts receive transfers. Investing accounts receive contributions. Debt repayment systems activate automatically. Emergency reserves grow consistently. Only after future-focused priorities receive funding does lifestyle spending begin. Another major issue is that people often underestimate how quickly small expenses consume a paycheck. A few subscriptions, a couple restaurant visits, delivery fees, impulse purchases, and financing payments can quietly absorb hundreds of dollars without creating any meaningful long-term value. This is why so many people feel confused when reviewing their finances. The paycheck looked sufficient on payday, but it vanished before meaningful progress occurred. Another critical lesson is understanding that money left without direction eventually finds its own direction. Usually that direction is convenience and consumption. Wealthy individuals understand that financial success requires intentional money movement. They create systems that decide where money goes before emotional spending has a chance to interfere. The first 24 hours after payday are not simply about paying bills. They are about establishing control. Control creates consistency. Consistency creates progress. Progress eventually creates freedom. Another major mistake many people make is paying everyone else before paying themselves. The paycheck arrives and immediately begins flowing outward. Landlords get paid. Credit card companies get paid. Subscription services get paid. Retailers get paid. Restaurants get paid. Delivery apps get paid. Everyone receives money except the person who earned it. Then at the end of the month, people attempt to save whatever remains. Usually very little remains because spending naturally expands to fill available income. Wealthy individuals often follow a completely different sequence. The moment income arrives, they pay themselves first. Savings, investing, emergency reserves, and ownership opportunities receive funding before lifestyle spending begins. This single behavioral shift can completely change financial outcomes over time. Another important lesson is that paying yourself first is not selfish. It is strategic. Every dollar directed toward future ownership increases flexibility later. Every dollar invested creates opportunities. Every dollar saved reduces future stress. Another major issue is that many people believe they will start saving once income increases. Unfortunately, spending habits usually increase alongside income. Raises become larger apartments, newer vehicles, upgraded subscriptions, convenience services, and lifestyle inflation. The financial pressure remains because the system remains unchanged. Wealthy individuals often understand that financial freedom is created by the gap between what someone earns and what they keep. Another critical principle is automation. The less emotional decision-making required after payday, the more reliable financial progress becomes. Automatic transfers, automatic savings, automatic investing, and automatic debt reduction create systems capable of functioning during stressful periods. The goal is not relying on motivation. The goal is creating infrastructure strong enough to survive when motivation disappears completely. The next lesson involves understanding how financial friction influences behavior. Modern financial systems are designed to make spending effortless. One-click purchases, digital wallets, financing offers, subscriptions, and by now, pay, later programs remove almost every obstacle between desire and spending. Saving money often requires effort, while spending money requires almost none. This imbalance creates predictable outcomes. People spend more because spending is easier. Wealthy individuals frequently reverse this relationship intentionally. They reduce friction for positive financial behavior while increasing friction for negative financial behavior. Saving becomes automatic. Investing becomes automatic. Debt payments become automatic. Emotional spending becomes slower and more deliberate. Another major principle is recognizing emotional triggers. Many people do not spend because they need something. They spend because they feel something. Stress, boredom, frustration, insecurity, loneliness, and exhaustion often lead directly to financial decisions. The first 24 hours after payday become especially dangerous because the account balance appears larger temporarily. People feel wealthier than they actually are. This creates spending confidence that often disappears later in the month. Another important lesson is that awareness creates control. Tracking spending patterns reveals where money actually goes instead of where someone believes it goes. Many consumers discover that hundreds of dollars disappear through recurring convenience purchases they barely remember making. Wealthy individuals often monitor cash flow carefully because awareness protects future flexibility. Another major benefit of financial awareness is reduced anxiety. Uncertainty creates stress because people fear what they do not understand. Once money flow becomes visible, decision-making improves dramatically. Financial systems become easier to maintain because behavior becomes intentional instead of reactive. This is why the first 24 hours matter so much. They determine whether money begins serving long-term goals or short-term emotions. The truth is that your paycheck is not lying to you. Your system is. Income alone cannot create financial freedom if every dollar immediately disappears through obligations, emotional spending, and poor distribution. Financial success is often determined by what happens immediately after income arrives. Wealthy individuals understand that money must be directed before it can create progress. They automate savings. They automate investing. They automate debt reduction. They assign every dollar a purpose before spending begins. Another important lesson is that small improvements in money flow create massive improvements over time. A few $100s consistently redirected toward ownership can become thousands. Thousands can become financial stability. Stability creates confidence. Confidence improves decision-making. Better decisions accelerate wealth building further. Another major principle is consistency. Most people look for dramatic financial breakthroughs while ignoring small systems capable of producing extraordinary results over time. The first 24 hours after payday may seem insignificant, but repeated monthly, they become one of the most powerful financial forces in someone's life. Another critical lesson is understanding that financial freedom is ultimately about control. Control over cash flow, control over future options, control over time. When money receives intentional direction, stress decreases and flexibility increases. That is why the question is not how much you earn. The question is, what happens immediately after you get paid? Build systems. Automate ownership. Protect cash flow. Reduce emotional spending. Assign every dollar a purpose. Let consistency create momentum. Let momentum create freedom. If this helped, then like and subscribe to the Daily Yield, because we're building real financial progress, one step at a time.